So I'm here with author and activist Papi Kymone Freeman. You were just telling me, like, you're excited because Angela Davis is reading your book, man. I
Yeah.
love Angela Davis.
Yes, Dr. Davis. Yes,
Yeah,
sir. Put some respect on it.
yeah, man. Uh,
Yeah.
what, like, what I mean, was the inspiration behind, your most recent book?
It's to be honest with you, it's this euphoria of melancholy, excitement, and worry, because I'm excited that it's the best project I've ever completed in my life thus far. It's my strongest body of work. It's talking about an issue of paramount importance, but it's a cautionary tale. It's a grave story. It ends out in triumphant in a celebration of resistance, but we're talking about life and death here when we talk about water. And it's kind of like, they say that the greatest trick the devil ever pulled is convincing the world it doesn't exist. Somehow they have kept it hidden from the world of this crisis. Uh, 25,000 people die every single day in Africa, Asia, Latin America, simply because they don't have access to clean water. That is more people than any disease. So more people are dying from lack of water than any disease. The fact that half of the planet is experiencing water scarcity. And we don't have to go around the globe. We can look right here in the United States, from Flint, Michigan to Jackson, Mississippi. And it's not just a weaponization against Black people and people of color. It's against poor people, period, because there are white people in Arizona and their wells are running dry. Why? Because corporations, when they take groundwater, it doesn't matter. It doesn't follow property rights. So if that groundwater is depleted over here, it's depleted over there. It doesn't matter where your fence is. And so we need to understand that the Colorado River is dry right now, and Wall Street is buying up water rights. So what we got to understand is that we're living in a country where healthcare is not a human right, housing is not a human right, and water is not looked upon as a human right. I was just on Roland Martin's show last night, and I'll try to squeeze this in. For example, we know about Flint, and even in Detroit, Michigan, they had such exorbitant water bills, people couldn't keep up with it. So inevitably, a lot of poor people, because Detroit was a very poor town, they got their water cut off. You know what happens when you get your water cut off? Protection Services will come and take your kids. So you have water refugees right here in the United States of America. But this is what the media is not telling you, my brother. If you pull out the map, Detroit and Flint are a short drive to the largest fresh body of water in the world, the Great Lakes. How can they possibly have a water problem unless someone is robbing them? Okay, and let me give you an example who's robbing them. Just one of them, Nestle. We know them for chocolate, but their biggest moneymaker is water. They have a deal with the state of Michigan for a measly $200 a year to pump 1 million gallons of water a day out of the Great Lakes. Yet Flint still has tainted water. Yet Detroit can't pay their water bills. So this book is a novel, but it is built upon facts that we now know to be true. For example, the polar ice caps melting, ocean levels rising. Some cities have submerged. Some new cities have emerged. That's happened already. Dubai is a new city that they built out of the ocean. Okay, I just tell the story of a different city dealing with a crisis.
Yeah, like I feel like it's such a timely piece, and like the fact that you chose to make it like a work of fiction, like something that like resonates in the real world. I guess like you went to Africa, and that like helped inspire you to write this.
Yes. I spent time in Nairobi, Kenya. Actually, I spent the summer in Nairobi, Kenya. It was the longest time I've ever spent outside the country. I urge everyone to spend some time outside of America. You'll see just how much American media has controlled your thinking, whether you like it or not. It has controlled the purview of the bandwidth of your understanding. until you get a different perspective. And when I say outside the country, I'm not talking about some carbonated version of reality where you sit on the beach and you know, a resort and being waited on. I'm talking about actually see what the people outside this country are living like, you know. Um, so I was there for the American Friends Service Committee Leadership Conference. It was an intense training sessions, 5 days, 6 days a week, 8 hours a day. I was paid to go, which enabled me to do so, and I learned a lot. But you know, that's when I got introduced to the water crisis. We was told not to drink the water. We had to brush our teeth with bottled water. We had to bathe with our mouths closed. We had to make sure no one put ice in our drinks. And I'm like, but the people living here are drinking this stuff,
Right.
you know. And the burning sensation, I have to tell the story over and over so to make sure it spread it near and far, is that the largest import to sub-Saharan Africa, you'll be surprised to know, is used clothing. It comes from Goodwill and Salvation Army, who does not give those things away for free. They sell it. I mean, albeit it's pennies on the pound, but what does that do? It's the Walmart, it's the Amazon business model. Poor people are going to buy the cheapest product, even if it's to their detriment. So when those clothes come in, they buy those clothes because it's cheaper than buying their actual African garbs that they would normally would wear, because they can't compete with pennies on the pound for clothing. So what happens? The domestic textile industry collapses. More people are out of work, more misery, more, you know, it's just a downward spiral. And so I had to say that to say this. The image is this small child, maybe 3 or 4 years old, no pants on. He has a "Get Rich or Die Trying" T-shirt on. Because you started saying, like, well, how did this shirt get to this child in the second largest slum in all of Africa? He didn't buy it. He got pennies on the pound. That's how he got that T-shirt. And so he's getting dirty water out of a stream with a goat drinking out of the same stream a few yards away. I can never shake that image in my mind, because when I come back to the States and I see people just, you know, throwing away water, you know, bottles of water, then finish, don't know who it is, you throw it away. Restaurants, you drink half your water, rest of it gets thrown away. People watering their grass. You know, I mean, you know, it's just, you know, it's insane, the distribution model that we have, and it's unsustainable. So, you know, and real quick, Jay-Z had a similar experience in Africa as well, but he had more resources. So he had built these merry-go-rounds where kids would play on, and it became a self-powered well pump generator. So he got fresh water to a lot of people, probably saved countless lives, and we don't talk about that. He actually addressed the UN, the United Nations, when Kofi Annan was Secretary General. Jay-Z addressed the United Nations, bruh. No one talks about that. You know, he had a whole documentary called Water for Life, you know? And so this is my foray to address that crisis and bring some attention to it by telling an entertaining tale. And I think that this is one of inspiration about resistance. And I wish that I could get this cover seen on this screen right here. This is a work of art in itself, because it's a lot of coded language in there. And if you look carefully, you'll see that my protagonist, who is a woman, by the way, that's why Angela Davis is up reading the book, is covering part of the globe, but the globe is turned on its side. She's actually looking at the world sideways, because, you know, like in our culture, we say we're looking at something sideways, that means something wrong. And so she's looking at the world sideways, but the only part of the world that's visible is the global south. She's covered, her body, her silhouette is covering Europe and America, i.e. the West, who actually are cause of these problems. And it's the global south who are suffering as a result of those problems. And we need to have a recalibration. So, and that's coming, whether they like it or not. So it's a wet world. And we should be able to have enough resources for everybody, but that's not their business model.
Man, you mentioned Jay-Z, and he's doing some great work globally. I you know, really like the documentaries he put out. You had mentioned Angela Davis, and he did the Angela Davis documentary. There's some filmmakers though who have said some really good things. I think like Shaka King, the director of Judas and the Black Messiah. He's
Yeah.
time Oscar nominated director, and he said there is great utility to escapist art, but this novel threads the needle pretty well by refusing not to acknowledge trauma just to make a piece of entertainment. And you know, I mean, I think that's a pretty good, like, you know.
Okay, because you're an independent media outlet, I'm going to keep it 100 with you, and I'll let you in on a little secret. Most of the blurbs you see on whatever, they didn't read the content. They
Okay.
just, it's a relationship. They boom, boom, boom. So Shaka did not read this book. Okay, Shaka had a relationship with me, and he supports what I do. Hence why he blessed me with this quote, because he knows what it's about. He has not read the book, right? So I want to keep it 100 with you. You will never hear me say that or any other outlet, but that's my jewel to you. And it's not just me, it's the business.
Right, right.
Remember, nine times out of 10, those blurbs are not genuine artifacts of the work. It is them giving a purview about their idea of the concept of the project. But I was blessed. My first production was a play called Prison Poetry. Now, Sam Greenlee from The Spook Who Sat by the Door.
That's one of my favorite books, man. Set in Chicago about the
That changed
CIA.
my life, bro. He was my writing mentor. Sam Greenlee was my writing mentor, and
Amazing.
he gave me that was slim. He
My,
gave me a blurb for the DVD, right? So
Mhm.
my first play had Sam Greenlee on it. Sam didn't read the play either, but from his relationship with me and his understanding of the work, So Sam gave me that blurb for Prison Poetry, and Shaka King gave me the blurb for my first book. So I feel those are bookends, right? I go from Sam Greenlee to Shaka King, and hopefully this book will become a film. That's what it started as a screenplay that I couldn't get produced. And now it is grown up to become a full-fledged novel. And we still have those ambitions to making it a film. And with the success of the impending success of it, it seems more than likely we might just do that.
It sounds like it would be a great film. I read the Spook Who Sat by the Door. My dad recommended it to me, and like, you know, that's one of my absolute like favorite books. It's set in Chicago, and like,
Mm-hmm.
what was it like, you know, having like him as a mentor, Sam Greenlee?
I actually had the honor of reading a poem from the last poets at Sam Greenlee's funeral in Chicago at DuSable Museum.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that's how
Okay.
intimately he had dinner at my house. We
Wow.
honored him at the Black Love Festival. I got drunk with Sam on many evenings. So it was surreal, brother. It was surreal. It was the affirmation that I needed to know what I'm capable of. Because you start with as a young kid, and I'm blown away by the DVD, and I'm like, wow, what I'm saying, like this, and I'm like, the whole story, and then he gives me the inside scoop on how they did this and how they did that, how they cut corners and made stuff happen. Did you know? Check this out. Ivan Dixon, who directed it, the CIA or FBI, whoever, they shut the film down quick, right? Because
Mm.
it's too intelligent. You want to give these Negroes some ideas. So when they pulled the film from the theaters, they destroyed the tapes.
Wow.
And the only reason the film survived is that Ivan Dixon, this is Sam telling me,
Mhm.
Ivan Dixon took the last reel, put it in a safe deposit box under his girlfriend's name. And when she passed or whatever, it was released, and that's how Sam got the reel back, and he got it to Robert Townsend and Tim Reed, and they got it on DVD.
Wow.
That's how the film survived, And Sam was destitute in his last years because he was blackballed because they wouldn't allow him to teach
Mhm.
and anywhere he couldn't get hired anywhere to practice his craft. He was denied that. Sam suffered because of the success of Spook Step Out the Door, you
Right.
know. And I want people to understand that. Don't you see these people and you see them bigger than life, but the story is not always beautiful.
Right.
He suffered a great deal, and I wanted to make sure that I do things a little bit differently. But I also realize that, you know, if you're gonna go against the grain, if you're gonna be, you know, anti-establishment, challenging the status quo, you're gonna have to prepare to suffer. You may not, you know, prosper as much as you would ordinarily if you was doing something different. But this is the path that I chose, and I want to honor all those people that struggled before us, because basically, brother, if you know, if we're in a system that's controlled by bankers, it's always going to be debt. If we're in a system that's controlled by warmongers, we're gonna never know peace. And if those elements control the media, we'll never know the truth. So when you make a dedication to the truth, you better be ready to fight.
Most definitely. Switching topics a little bit, like, I'm a chess nerd. I was in the chess club in high school and in college.
Love it.
And like, I was like, surprised, man, you're the co-founder of Bum Rush the Boards.
Oh, you done your homework. Yeah. Co-founder of Bum Rush the Boys chess tournament, hip hop chess tournament with Words, Beats, and Life, under the leadership of the mighty Mazi Mutafa. Um, yeah, I don't know where to start with that one. You know, it's funny. I got fired from the post office for making anti-war statements to a congressman's wife. And so I too was destitute for a period of my life, because I was like, what I'm going to do? I'm feeling all depressed. Or war is me. And I remember this elder was telling me, he said, "Wow, well, you know, what do you love to do? You know, you can find a job, what you enjoy doing." I said, "What do you mean find a job doing what I love to do? Like, what? I don't have any skill. I worked at the post office for 9 years. What am I gonna do? Work Federal Express?" He was like, "No, what do you like to do?" Just, you know. I said, "I like playing chess." He said, "Dude, there you go. You know, you can teach chess." I was like, "I'm not a chess master. I just like playing chess." He said, "You can teach kids."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Whoa!" Like, and then so check it out. So I do my little research, put a proposal together, go around these schools, and like, you know, espousing all the virtues of chess, how it is a conflict resolution, it contributes to critical thinking, it improves grades. All this is documented data, okay, which is primarily the reason why it's not in schools, because it works, right? And so none of these schools would take it. They was like, "Oh, well, you know, we don't have a budget for this," and you know, da 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 da. So when I joined Words, Beats, and Life, when you're a board member, you either donate finances and resources, or you create programming that attracts finances and resources. So obviously, I did the latter. And when we created Bum Rush the Boards, now I go around to schools and I say that I want to register your chess team to compete in our tournament. And they'll be like, "Oh, well, we don't have a chess team." I'm like, "Really? Well, you know, I can get one up to competition level in 2 months."
Right.
And they was like, "Really? What do you charge?" "Well, these are my rates, and this is where I'm available, and this is the whole different conversation, whole different result. But it was the same thing. But the approach is this: instead of me trying to sell you something, I told you you missing out on something.
Right.
Is it?
I hear
You know,
you. Uh,
so
you were saying like you worked at the post office and you got fired though for making anti-war statements to a congressman's wife. Like you,
yeah, and ironically, it was over the Iraq War. So here we are now. It's common knowledge that this was all fugazi. This was BS. We don't even call it a war no more. They call it an invasion. Da, da, da. But at the time, it was like mom's the word. You couldn't say nothing about, you know, da, 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 da. And we had, as the Black experience in apartheid America, so many of our elders, you know, they had to shuck and jive and buck and dance, you know, and bite their tongue. And I thought about doing it, but this person said some racist things to me. I could have let it go, like I didn't hear it. I was, you know, I was selling stamps and the money. I'm a window clerk, so I'm dealing with the public. And I didn't take that route. I confronted her on that, and it didn't get ugly. I thought it was just a debate, a contentious debate of policies. Um, you know, but a few weeks later, I got pulled into the office because she had wrote a letter to Jesus and the 12 disciples and sunk my battleship. Yeah. but I'm so glad that she did. I wish I knew her name, because I would have thanked her. Because if it hadn't been for her, I probably been in the post office a lot longer than I should have been, and it thrust me into becoming who I was destined to be. And that very next year, a year later, is when I got the opportunity to spend 6 weeks in Kenya. If I had been working in the post office, you think they would have gave me 6 weeks off of leave to go?
Not at all.
Nah. And because I had already lost my apartment and everything, I didn't have to worry about my rent for the 2 months I was gone. So
What would be your advice to creatives? Because there's a lot of people and stuff maybe who want to pursue their passions, but they're afraid they're working jobs they don't like. What would you tell them?
Comfort is the poison. The reason a lot of people don't do anything to chase their dreams and their goals is because it's uncomfortable. You may have to sleep on somebody's couch. You may miss a meal. You may not be able to go partying this weekend. You may miss out on what you perceive missing out. A lot of people don't want to be uncomfortable. They that 9 to 5, that their regular income, that little stream, they okay. That's where they at, and that's where they're gonna stay. And if you're not willing to step outside your comfort zone, you're not going to be able to grow. It's just point and simple. I'm not saying that you have to starve. I'm not. At the same time, I'm not justifying the starving artist. I'm just saying that you're going to have to be willing to be uncomfortable. And if you're not willing to do that, you're hindering yourself. And because let's think of all the stories of success you heard. They all got some story of where they stumbled and it was uncomfortable and blah, blah, blah. You got to be willing to do that and believe in yourself to the point that you're going to get through this. I got a plan. Right now I'm working, I'm grinding. And if you're doing that, you ain't worried about, um, um, if you behind on your car note, or your thing got repossessed or whatever. I lost everything I owned when I got fired from the post office. It was a slow winding down, but I eventually lost everything I owned, even everything that was in storage. I got behind that bill and lost that. I had to come back and what do you call it? I hate the auctions because it reminds me of slavery. There was auctioning off my stuff, and the only thing I could afford to buy was a painting from Demont Picasso Pender. Yeah, he's a very famous visual artist, one of the most prolific artists in the DMV. He paints on stage with artists from Raheem Devon to Rakim and everybody in between. And anytime anything happens in our culture, Demont has a painting of it, and he gets it to them. So I urge you to check him out. He had a painting of Malcolm and Martin that he had commissioned for me. I commissioned for the Black Love Festival, and it's a huge painting. It's like maybe like 4 feet by 3 feet on wood boards. And it's 2 pieces, Malcolm and Martin, and you put it together and they shaking hands. I got that painting back, and it's on display in the gallery in my building right now. When I got that painting, that piece of art, all I had was this piece of art. I knew I was going to be okay. I didn't even have money to ride the bus that day. I had to carry this heavy piece of art back to my girlfriend at the time, who's now the mother of my child, house with that. But I knew I was going to make it from there. And then from that point, I grew. So just so y'all know, I'm not rich or nothing, but I have a studio in Anacostia, We Act Radio. The building is paid for. Outdoor performance space in the back. Think of like a beer garden setup with a stage, hold about 250, 300 people. That's me, and you can do it. You can do it. You got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in yourself, and you have to surround yourself with people who believe in you. You have to, like eagles don't hang around with chickens. So if you got fired from the post office, you don't want to be hanging around all your post office friends anymore. You need to start hanging around with the artsy crowd that you're trying to get into. It's just as simple as that. Who do you want to be like? Who do you want? No disrespect to your post office friends. We just ain't hanging out like that no more. When you have a big event, you invite them. good to see you. How you been? You know what I'm saying? But we're not hanging anymore because your level of conversation is not where I'm trying to get to. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about stamps no more. I'm talking about, da da da. And I think people are not willing to make those sacrifices and the changes. And yeah, I hope that I inspired somebody somewhere, and discourage those who really don't want this, so they won't have to be surprised. But if you're really serious, I would urge you to pick up a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. Julia Cameron was was married to Martin Scorsese, to give you an idea of who she is. And this book is not to be read; it's a workbook, and you work through it. And what it does, it helps you go from the transition, when you, because it takes a minute for you to look into the mirror and say, "This is who I am. I am an artist. This is what I do." It took. I was 35 years old. I had to get a literary award before I could say I'm a writer. So I feel like I wasted a 10, 15 years of my life because I was doubting myself. You know, I was doubting myself. And if it hadn't been for the pandemic, I probably wouldn't have finished this book, to have the space and the time and the opportunity to sit down for 2 years and not worry about rent and go through the process of creating a novel. Yeah. But I won't need another pandemic to write another novel. I think I got it now, because I'm already thinking about the next one. But right now I got to make this one work. So we'll see what happens. It's an honor to be speaking with you, brother.
Man, it's an honor to speak with you, man. Papi Kymone Freeman, the author of Nineveh. Why did you decide the title of the book, Nineveh?
Again, because everything started over a debate over the Iraq invasion. So Nineveh is actually a modern, ancient city in modern day Iraq. So that was the reason why there. And then the name Nineveh is a biblical reference. The story goes that it was building the Tower of Babel, to glorify themselves instead to the glory of God or whatever. And so God punished them by casting down all the languages. People speaking in different tongues, and was a lot of confusion and conflict. And I'm like, oh, a lot of confusion and conflict. Okay, perfect. So this is the setting for a lot of conflict, and that is the science behind Nineveh. And it's a new city that has emerged. I don't actually say this is in modern Iraq or anything like that. I never actually pinpointed in a geopolitical space. It's basically just the oasis of the world, and it's the headquarters of Global Water Corporation.
What's next for you in your career?
Well, hopefully we'll be getting on this national tour for this book. We're just wrapping up a successful book launch here in the DMV. We did all the Busboys and Poets locations in the DMV. It's like the Wu-Tang Clan of restaurants in DC. I'm doing this Sunday. It's going to be the biggest one. We have Kojo Nami, DC legend, sitting down with me. That's at Busboys and Poets, 14th and V Street, 6 o'clock. So folks can come out for that. Or you can watch the live stream. The last one would be April the 2nd with the owner and founder of Busboys, and that would be in Columbia, Maryland. And then after that, we got to go through the process of getting it into as many bookstores as possible. I have a small publisher, Strong Arm Press, who's doing a fantastic job. It's challenging the system, so I'm honored to have them as my publisher. Lisa Pingram is my creative consultant, smoothed out some of the rough edges on this work. But we're going to take it and put it under my arm and take it around the country. We're going to do a national book tour starting with Flint, Michigan, 13 cities after that. And then we're going to wrap it up in Jackson, Mississippi. And right now, I'm a New America fellow applicant. And if I get that fellowship, then that gets me the resources I need to take it to other countries. We already get the Spanish translation. I'm going to be doing a Spanish translation release in Havana, Cuba, later this summer. And again, we're trying to get in his hands as many people as possible to garner potential of it becoming a film. And as soon as I get some resources together and the time, I'm going to start my next novel.
Definitely. do you have any ideas, like, like directors that you want to direct the film, or like, actors, like, that you would like want to cast as, like, the main characters, if you just had a list?
You know, uh, I would if we're in a dream state, I would want to work with Jay-Z and his team, Rock Nation, because real funny. When this started as a screenplay, and I heard about Jay-Z and his Water for Life, I was like, "Oh, I gotta get this to Jay. Jay would be perfect." He's saying da da da. And then my brother, as a music engineer, he actually knew Jay-Z's cousin, Beehive, who's a good
Okay,
dude.
yeah.
Runs Rock Nation. So he got me with Beehive. I get the script to B, and B was like, "Come to New York." And I'm like, "Man, I can't just email you the shit." He's like, "Come to New York." So I go to New York, get in the strip. We're in the meeting in the boardroom. I'm like, I'm sitting next to the man that's sitting next to the goddamn man. I'm all right. I'm close. I'm close.
Yeah.
Man, he says to me, he says, this is good, but it sounds like a documentary, bro. I don't know how we're gonna make money with this, right? And I made the mistake of engaging him about how he can make money with the dude that just got off the Chinatown bus,
Right.
and he's running Rock Nation. I'm gonna tell him how to make money, right? So that was a mistake. What I should have said was that I thought Jay wanted to make history, not just make money, right?
Yeah.
That should have been my little, 1-2 right there.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad he turned me down, because had he not turned me down, I was desperate. I would have probably have signed anything, and then plus it wouldn't have been the powerful project it is now. You know how they say that you can't fit the whole book into a film because
Right.
you have so much material.
Right. Right.
So I had a screenplay then. Now, so that was like half of what I got now. So now my project is twice as long, twice as deep, twice as good, twice as powerful, twice as much research went into this. So I'm so glad. I'm grateful he took the meeting, because it gave me confidence to move forward. To know that I was that close. That he acknowledged me. Was worthy of his time. To sit down with me and take it serious. You know, so the next time I'm in that situation, it won't be so new to me, you know. So I would like to work. I would first like to get it to Rock Nation, because I like what Jay did with the team that put together The Harder They Fall. I like how they came together for that. So that's what I would be looking for, and because also I know Jay is like passionate. This is a passion issue for him as well. So I would want somebody that gets it. So that would be the dream team for me to work with. But in terms of, if I was picking out a director, if Shaka King finally reads the reads the book, he'll be a great director.
Man, most definitely. Where can people reach out to you on social media?
You can follow me on on IG. The IG for Nineveh is Nineveh novel, Nineveh novel on IG, and that's also the website. And me personally is Kymone Freeman, Kymone Freeman, Kymone Freeman. And I'm also co-founder of We Act Radio. That's We ACT Radio. Any of those things will are all blinking arrows back to me. But I would urge people within the sound of our voice to limit their time on commercial media, and increase their time on platforms such as yourself, because we are the truth tellers. And if we know that these folks are lying, why are we giving them our time? And readers are leaders. So remember that reading is more important than watching television. That's Dr. Francis Cress Wilson. Reading is more important than watching television. And so instead of two black men that's greeting each other saying, "What's up? What's up?" and nobody has an answer, because clearly neither one of y'all know what's up. Why don't we greet each other with, "Hey, brother, what you been reading? Hey, sister, what you been reading?"
Right.
It changes the whole dynamic of our conversations, and it will replace a culture of entertainment with a culture of enlightenment. So I challenge everybody to adopt that. Each one teach one and pass that on. What have you been reading? Because right
Yeah.
now, Angela Davis is reading my book.
We'll leave it like that. Papi Kymone Freeman, the author of Nineveh. Thank you so much for taking the time. It's been wonderful speaking with you.
Thank you for having me, brother. Continue success in your terms. Stay safe, stay strong, stay woke.
Most definitely.